Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Flying Cat Marketing Podcast. Today I have Tawni Sattler, who is a content writer at Hotjar. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So I know that your title is content writer, but
Yes.
as we were mentioning before this, I know that your role is actually bigger than content writer. You,
Well, I do more than writing.
you
Actually, haven't written in a while, to be honest. But but yeah, that's what I am.
Because we actually know each other because we've been working together on some projects. And I know that
Hmm.
you are managing a lot. You're managing the writers and you're also managing the sort of vision behind how you can tie Hotjar into the content that's being created. And
Yes,
so, how long have you been in this role or doing
doing
this
that.
kind of work?
Since about September of last year. And that has a lot to do with the way our marketing team has been evolving. um, we we had a demand generation team, and then I'll say split, but that sounds really negative, and we still work really, really closely together. But we moved from demand generation to a performance team and a brand team. And so that happened around September of last year. Was it September? I don't know. Everything is sort of a blur. I think it was around that time. But and so since then I've sort of moved into this like managing of content type of role.
So, do you guys still have a demand generation team?
No, we don't. We have, so our marketing team is made up of three sort of like sub teams. We have the brand team, which is more like top of the funnel. Their focus is brand awareness, making sure people know that there's a tool like Hotjar out there. And then the performance team, which is where that's the team I'm on, and we're more focused on middle to bottom of the funnel and acquisition. And then um, there's customer marketing, which would be like bottom of the funnel where they're already customers. And so the customer marketing team steps in at that point.
Okay, cool. So, when you guys decided back in September to say we're not doing demand generation anymore, or we're not calling it demand generation
Yeah.
anymore, now we're going to divide it into these three groups. How did the structure differ? Like, what did demand generation look like to Hotjar back then? I'm very curious. I'm asking just
I
because
know.
so many definitions of demand generation.
I
I
know.
I love hearing what it means to other people.
Well, I had never been on any marketing team actually before joining Hotjar a year ago, actually a year ago today. Um, and so to me, being on a demand generation team I didn't know what it meant. So moving from the demand generation into these like brand and performance, to me, there wasn't a lot of changes into the way that we worked together. It was mostly just structural and like, okay, now you have a clear focus on the top of the funnel and brand awareness. You have more of a focus. So it was sort of just like helping us really zone in and specialize in what we were all best at.
Okay. And how did you end up in the performance marketing team?
Well, at the time we had an editor and a writer, so it was just the two of us. And the editor was in the brand team because we needed someone with that skill set in the brand team. And then myself, the writer, was in the performance team because we were more bottom, and our blog content and our guides and things are more middle to bottom of the funnel. So it just made sense to
Okay.
have that be like under the performance umbrella.
So what does it look like now? Because now you're working with a lot of writers, right?
Yes, yeah. So now, and I'll say again, like the brand and performance teams are very fluid. Like we do have a brand editor now. Again, he just started this week, and I'm really excited to work with him because we'll be doing some more top of the funnel stuff together. So it is very, very fluid, how we work together. But sorry, what was your question? I
My
tangented
question was,
myself.
I understand.
I do
The
it all the time.
question, what does your team look like now?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
now you have a lot
Yeah.
of writers that are outside of Hotjar, from what I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way it works now is that I sort of manage these writers. And then you've seen the Asana boards. So we work together, which is why I went off on a tangent, because the brand team is also involved in that process. So I pull in like designers, and I'll also pull in help from other editors if I need it into this editorial process. And so, yeah, it's really interesting because I've never managed writers before. I was a writer myself, but I had never managed other writers. So I wasn't really sure of how effective I would be, but at least I think I had a good idea of what a freelance writer would appreciate seeing in a brief, and the type of organization that they would expect from someone in my position. So I did everything I could to make the process as organized and smooth and pretty as possible. Everything's very color coordinated, and just looping everyone in and being really, really like over communicating with the writers and with the in-house team.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate over communication. I think it's so good, especially for those of you who are listening. Tawni does record a bunch of videos explaining every section. This is what I was thinking behind this. This is what I'm thinking behind this. And what I find very interesting about the way that you work as well is these very detailed briefs that you create. I know that you do create them. It's not only you who's creating them, right? It's a team effort.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your brief process.
Okay.
I want to preface that with saying that when I got into content marketing years ago, and I remember the first briefs I received as a beginner content marketer before I started the content marketing agency, people would just give me a topic.
Yeah.
Like, here's a topic. And I was at a point where I was like, okay, I can write about this. Why though? Or what am I, what's the goal with this? Or there was just so many questions out there.
Yeah.
That sometimes the client didn't even have the answer to. And I think that the importance of a brief, not only in what are you going to write about, but why are you going to write about this?
Yeah.
Makes such a big difference. So tell me a little bit, because I know you're also experimenting with your briefing format.
Yes. Yeah. So that comes with the help of we work with an SEO agency, and when we started hiring freelance writers for this, we knew that we had to get some sort of briefing system in place like right away. So at first we were just working with something that we just sort of like, I don't like plop together, just like, okay, this would be nice to know, and this and this and this, here you go. And it was sort of just this is what we have right now. Apologies, but it was working for a while, but we knew that it was something that we really, really needed to nail down. And so it's been sort of a mission of ours to build this like perfect brief, which I believe must exist. And so I took from my own experience being on the end of the freelance writer and the briefs that I had gotten in the past. And I had received ones like you were just describing too, where it was like, here's the topic, do your thing. It's like, okay, well, you're giving me a lot of creative freedom here, so that's nice. But there are a lot of questions that I would still have to go back to the client to find answers to. And a lot of times it was a really long process just to get the information that I needed so that I could start the thing. So I wanted it to sort of be somewhere in between, like not an information overload to where you feel like there's absolutely no freedom as a writer. You want to be able to have some creative freedom, but at the same time you need you need to know like a lot more than just the topic.
Yeah.
So we try to, first and foremost, like every piece of content is for the customer. Like we want our content to serve them, not us. So we want to answer a question, solve a problem. We want to educate them about how Hotjar can help them. So that's really that's the point. And so we always try to weave that in, like, okay, let's say we're writing about marketing funnels. What does Hotjar have to do with that? Well, we can go in and talk all about marketing funnels, but then how do we weave Hotjar in without it sounding like a sales pitch, which is, it sounds tricky, but because Hotjar is so much about helping users, it usually just naturally fits into the narrative, and we don't have to sound like we're selling anything. It just works somehow. So yeah, we try to make that clear in the brief too, like just sort of weave it in naturally as much as you can without coming off too sales pitchy.
Yeah. So how do your funnels work right now at Hotjar? So I know you have these three different, you have the brand, you have performance, you have customer. What happens after that?
What happens after that? Well, I mean, once they're onboarded and customer marketing takes over at that point, it's a lot of just engaging and interacting and making sure that everyone has what they need. And there's a lot of content within the application itself for customers. So there's still a lot of content that then customer marketing and product marketing are responsible for, to make sure that everyone can find answers. And if they can't find the answer, they know how to reach us to get the answers that they need.
What's the goal of customer and product marketing? To increase retention?
Yeah, increase retention. We're a subscription based model, so we have different levels of subscriptions, and then so one of the goals could be to move a basic plan to a business plan or something like that. It changes, and I'm not in the loop all the time on what their specific goals are, but that would be an example of something that they might try to do.
What about how you move them from brand marketing to your section, performance marketing?
Yeah, well, right now we're working, and that's where brand and performance work together a lot, is we work on, like we just had a brainstorming session the other day on campaigns that we could try, to where we're building awareness. And then if they click on a link from an ad, or they end up on a landing page that eventually puts them into this marketing funnel, to where they're going to be landing on our middle to the bottom of the funnel content, and it all just sort of works, like magic, which we all know is not always the reality of how people shop or behave online, but that's the idea.
I love it. It's I'm always interested in how other brands are creating these marketing funnels, because on a surface level, obviously it's, you search for some keyword, some top of the funnel keyword, then what, you retarget them, get them back into a landing page. It's it all sounds the same from a surface level, the funnel, but everybody does it so differently, and everybody plans it so differently, and how you actually tie it between the different funnels and create content that tells a whole story and this whole strategic narrative. It's tough to identify.
Yeah.
How big is your team, the marketing team?
We are growing so fast, I can't even give you a count. I think it's right now 13 or 14, and then we've got someone else joining next week, and then 2 more joining at some other point in this month. Like the team is growing really, really quickly.
Okay. So you have this team of 13 people in-house, plus an SEO agency, plus a bunch of writers.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
what's coming up? Why are you hiring so many people?
Well, because
If you're
Hotjar is
allowed to
growing.
say, huh?
Yeah. Hotjar is growing. So we need the team to support that growth. And that's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
So what are the highest performing channels currently for Hotjar?
Paid acquisition and content,
Those two can work together, right? Do you ever use
and they
paid to
work
distribute
together.
content?
That's one of the things that when we were putting the performance team, when we, we're building that and we're like, okay, this is what a performance team is. This is what it means. It's paid and organic. And so myself and the team lead, her background is all with paid, and my background is all with writing or or content marketing, organic content marketing. And so we were like, how can we, what is it going to look like when we are working together? And so that's something that we've been learning since September, whenever it was that we became a team. And that's slowly becoming part of the strategy too, is okay, how can we run a paid experiment and then funnel it into something organic? Or how can we use, attribution and different, like, what can we do and how can we make this work? So we're still learning what it looks like to sort of, meld these two aspects together. But it's been a really good learning experience for all of us, and it's been really fun to sort of get into the minds of, like, what is a paid marketing person thinking about? What's driving them? And then for them to learn, like, okay, well, Tawni is all about the words, and she like, so it's been really fun to learn from each other and with each other.
Is your team pretty mixed up like that in terms of perspectives, or do you have a
Yeah.
stronger focus? It's mixed up.
Yeah, we're really mixed up. Yeah, we have, so on the performance team, we have, oh, I don't even know anymore. We have one, two, three people whose background is in paid. Mine is in organic. The person joining us next week, his background is organic and content agency background. And so it's a lot of different perspectives and approaches. And I think that is what makes it work, though,
Yeah.
because if we all had like the same exact ideas and the same approach, it would get old really, really fast. So I think that's part of the reason we're growing so fast, is because we all have these different approaches, different mindsets, different ways of working, and somehow we make it all work together and we're having success with it.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. Right before we started recording, you were telling me about how Hotjar is completely remote. And
Yeah.
you guys managed to not only manage a team of 13 marketers, all with different perspectives, several different goals, but also a bunch of freelancers. What's that experience like for you?
It's a lot of fun. It was a requirement for any sort of full-time job I was going to take. It had to be fully remote, and I think that's um, sort of maybe a common factor with a lot of us. We just thrive in the remote environment. And so there's a lot of async happening, like via Slack or in Asana, emails, Loom videos, like I do with my briefs. I do a lot of Loom videos, even just for within the team, the in-house team. I do some Loom videos because it's just easier, it's quicker. You don't have to have like unnecessary meetings that are a waste of everyone's time. So it works. I mean, sometimes I think we all kind of wish occasionally that we were in an office together and could sort of, put our heads together, or at least share our sense of humor together or something. But somehow it works. It can be challenging, I guess, in that aspect. But yeah, we do a lot of async, and it's something that before you join the team. Like, this is all async. This is all going to be completely remote. But we have our recruitment process. We make sure that everyone understands, and they do a 2-week task with us So we get to actually work together before. So everyone who joins Hotjar already knows, like, this is what it's going to be like. I either love it or I hate it. So yeah,
So
we
you
all
actually
that.
you do this 2-week task as a test, whether they can join Hotjar or not. Oh,
Well, I mean, whether they can join Hotjar or whether they
they
want
want
to
to.
join Hotjar, yeah. So it was part of the hiring process was that I was in a task for 2 weeks and actually wrote an article as if I was being hired as a freelance writer for this one article. And then I got to work with the team really closely. I got to have calls with them and meet them and talk to them and ask them every question I could possibly think of. And so I was able to tell, like, whether it's going to work for me working with this team. Like, am I going to be able to work with this team and not see them ever possibly? And yeah, so I think that that's one thing that we all that's one thread, that we all share, is just that we're thriving in this sort of environment, or we're capable of thriving
It's
in this
a
sort of
good thing.
environment.
I mean, I guess it was fully remote before COVID, right?
Yeah, since it was founded in 2014.
Good idea, Hotjar.
I know. I know.
Now they're just ready. They're like, we don't have to
I
change
know.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you were mentioning before we got on the call as well that you don't actually come from a marketing background.
No, I don't.
In a why you decided to get into a marketing role, and now just 1 year later we're having this conversation and you are pretty well versed in marketing, and you seem to, I mean, performance marketing, mid bottom of the funnel, you need to know about marketing in this kind of position. So
Yeah.
how did you learn about that? What was this process?
Well, there's a lot of imposter syndrome that still uh you
We all
know
have that.
creeps in, but I think that's pretty common. Yeah. But, well, I guess the story is that before we moved to Vienna, I was just working in, like, corporate America in an office where it was sort of like, I don't know if anyone's going to watch this, but it was sort of like a soul crushing type of job where there's, like, no purpose, and just, besides just, like, the ladies that I would sit by and chat with, that was, like, the only good thing about it. But so it was sort of just this drive that I had to find something that I enjoyed doing, instead of just having a job to have a job and to pay bills. So when we moved to Vienna from Washington State, and my husband teaches here. And so for a while I wasn't working at all, and I was just kind of bumming off of him. And
Sightseeing.
then I was like, well, I'm getting sort of restless. So I went back to school and I did an online associate's degree program for marketing, and sort of just figured out that I was sort of, like, I had the mind for it. I won't say that I'm, like, great at it or anything, but I, like, my mind works in this way. Like, somehow it just works. And I've always been a writer, so content marketing just was the natural fit. And so it all sort of just happened really, really quickly, though. As soon as I finished, I actually was interviewing for Hotjar. I was going through my task as I was finishing the associate's degree.
Okay.
So as soon as I got that, I started at Hotjar, like, a month later. And I've sort of just been learning as I go for this entire time, which works out well because that's one of Hotjar's core values, is to learn as you go. So it's, I guess I'm a testament to that actually working.
Yeah, I think that from what I understand, Hotjar is a great example of today's scrappy marketer. We're all learning as we go, which maybe it's just confirmation bias and maybe it's just the kind of people that I'm connected with, but I feel like the majority of marketers operate in the same way, that we're all
Yeah.
learning as we go, testing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole basis of growth hacking, is just kind of testing things, going with it.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of experimentation. And I think too, it's really exciting. I think most of us are fired up by that sort of environment too, where we get to try new things and make mistakes and just try again. And I think that's a common trait in marketers.
Yeah. Is there anything that I'm interested, I had told you before that I would be asking about these kind of things. Failures is what I'm interested in. Something that you had tried out and it just didn't work, and how you overcame that.
Um, not really anything that I've completely failed on since joining Hotjar, but there have been things that I've really questioned, like, am I doing this right? I have no idea what I'm doing. Somebody help. And that would be like when we made the switch to when I joined the performance team, and when we became this team, I was really I had a lot of guidance before from Fio, which you know Fio, and I had a lot of guidance from her, and she's amazing. And so I felt like I had to fill these enormous shoes and was never going to be able to do it. But it's been I'm not filling her shoes because I'm not her.
Yeah.
So it's become more of just like not so much failing and learning from that, but just being learning how to have confidence in myself. So an example besides that would be like managing writers. Like, how the hell am I supposed to manage writers when I've never done that before, but I guess I'm just gonna do it. So so that's sort of the mindset that I've adopted, or maybe I had it before and just never had a chance to work through it. um yeah, just sort of putting myself in the position where I have to do a thing, and I have to succeed. I have a very high bar set for myself, which can be a bad thing, but I think it actually helps me because I tend to do everything I can to reach it in that case.
I mean, it's nice to have that balance between saying I'm going to try my best, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm just going to, try something different. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
maintaining these
Yeah.
high standards.
Yeah. I
That
think that's part of the sort of I've sort of built in room for failure, like within the publication calendar and the like editorial process too, just knowing how much of a perfectionist I can be when it comes to the written word. I've built in sort of cushions so that, okay, if I'm really unhappy with something, I know that I have the freedom to
Yeah.
move things around. And so, like you were saying, like maintaining that high standard, but also being able to flex with it and work agilely is and that's the only way that this is working. Is being able to move things around.
And it's nice that you have that freedom to
Mhm.
make the plan the way that you see fit. I guess Hotjar gives you the space. They believe in you. It sounds like
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
create, design how you're going to make this happen
Yeah.
with your team.
Yeah. It's been amazing. I still can't believe, like I was telling my team lead before this call, I was like, I don't even know how I ever had a successful job interview. Like, I don't know how I have gotten to where I am right now. And it's yeah, the team has been amazing, just really supportive, and that whole the mindset of like making mistakes and learning as you go and just being bold and moving fast, which is another one of the core values, is just so it sets you up for success. And yeah, there's really no way to fail, I guess, in
Yeah.
Hotjar because you just learn.
Yeah. That's inspiring me a lot. I'm in the process of building and training a team as well. And these values that you're sharing with me that is Hotjar's. Obviously, it sounds like they're really living and breathing these values, and
Yeah,
everybody seems to be embodying them, and that it's actually empowering you as a part of the team to grow.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
This has been such a wonderful conversation. I've learned a lot, and I actually feel inspired now talking to you.
Oh, well, good.
If people who have been listening want to connect with you, where's the best place to do it?
Probably on LinkedIn. You can find me there.
Cool. I will be dropping the link at the bottom of this, whether you're listening to this on YouTube or on my website or on the Spotify, although I don't think that you can click on a link on Spotify. I'm not sure, but the link will be
Not
there.
sure.
Thank you so much for spending this time with me, Tawni. It's been a pleasure
Yeah, of
chatting.
course. It's been
And
fun.
if you enjoyed listening to this, please do share it with a friend or colleague, like and subscribe. And thank you everybody for listening, and see you next time.